Okay, this video is going to show the adjustments of the Fluidmaster 400 AH fill valve. Okay, I installed it yesterday. Everything went fine on the installation. There are some adjustments, so I'm just going to do those adjustments today. The first thing I wanted to mention though is it does have a warning here on do not use in-tank drop-in toilet bowl cleaners containing bleach or chlorine. And of course, it's exactly what I've got. So, after this one, well actually this one's a new box, but after the one that's in there gets used up, I'm going to have to review this and see whether or not there's a product that I can use instead. I think they claim here that Fluidmaster may have one that you can use, but anyway. Okay, next thing I wanted to get at was this section here on the height, okay, let me just do it this way, of the critical level mark, okay? I did that yesterday, and there is some issues with, it's not easy to measure, and on the online video they have you doing tape measure from the bottom of the bowl, but I notice here they also say here, if you read it carefully, which I didn't read it carefully enough, it says that the top of the fill valve is 3 inches above the overflow pipe. That must be, which is to say there's 2 inches from the top of the fill valve to the critical line. So it turns out the top of the fill valve is rather easy to draw a level on with just something that's flat, basically. And you can see I've actually drawn a small thing. So I'm just going to make that pencil mark a little bit bolder and then just measure the distance between the top of the overflow to there. That should be 3 inches. It says here it must be 3 inches, but if you actually look at other places, it should be a minimum of 3 inches, because the thing that they're trying to prevent is something that's called backflow, where somehow if the water level rose up too high, that it could get back into the water supply through this fill valve. Presumably, there are some place for water. If you look carefully, you'll see there are some holes in there at a certain level. Okay, and somehow you want to prevent water from getting back in there. The idea is that if there's a drop in pressure on the town water supply, and this tank were full, who knows why it would be that high, that somehow the water could then actually, in this case it's just a tank of a toilet, it could somehow leak into the water supply. These types of accidents generally only cause a problem on an industrial scale, but anyway, don't want to get into that here. Just want to get into making this measurement. Okay, I'll just use pause. Okay, I just made that line a little bit bolder. Now, turns out you can take a ruler, measure the distance, and what I'm getting is it's over 3 inches. See, there's one, oh, hold on, yeah, 1, 2, oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to measure it from that lower one. I'm sorry, that's my mistake. That's the overflow level. Okay, I measure it from the overflow level, and I get about 3 2/10, or 3 1/10. For some reason, this ruler is marked in tenths. Normally, it'd be 8, but anyway, it's over 3 inches, just slightly. So everything on that account is fine, okay? I'm not going to bother trying to lower it to bring it down to as close to 3 inches as I could get it, even though it says that it must be set 3 inches. So anyway, not a big deal. Okay, now, next thing I'm going to do is adjust the water tank level. And you'll see here that the water tank level, as I mentioned last time, it's a little bit high, okay, but probably only by 1/4 of an inch. It's harder to see when the water is in it than when the water is out, but I'm going to say that that's less than 1/4 of an inch, maybe only 1/8 of an inch. It says here in adjusting it when you twist the adjustment screw 8 times, it moves a 1/2 inch. So for 1/4 of an inch, you'd want 4 times. And for 1/8 of an inch, you'd want 2 times. And it says a twist. Now a twist, you know, it's probably not a full revolution. It's probably only half a revolution. So if I do this 1 full revolution in the direction so as to lower it, okay, which would be counterclockwise, then it'll probably be closer. And this is a thing that can be kind of iterative. Okay, I'm just going to do it. Like I said, I'll do 2 twists or 1 full rotation, and I'll just see how it is next time I flush it. Okay, so I'll use pause. Okay, I tried to give this 2 twists. What I noticed when I started turning it counterclockwise is that it didn't rotate smoothly or continuously. It did so in increments, like as if it were notched, or there were notches in there somewhere. So I just did 2. They might have been turned up being 90 degrees, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'll just wait and see what the effect is. Now, I'll go to the next level. The next one, which is setting the level in the toilet bowl. So the idea is on this fill valve that about 50% when it's filling of the water is going to get diverted into that overflow tube for the purpose of refilling the toilet bowl. Okay, and so in the toilet bowl, if for the amount of time that it takes to refill the tank back up to the shutoff level, it turns out the amount of water that actually gets delivered to the bowl might be more than what's needed to bring it to its equilibrium level. And if that's the case, the extra water will simply go down the toilet and you lose it. Okay? The level that it's at right now is more than adequate. And the reason is because the refill tube has not been restricted. Okay? The refill tube is flowing at full maximum amount. This is the most it could possibly be. And I can tell almost certainly that more water is going in here than what's needed. So the procedure, as they describe it, is to make a mark at the water line, okay, with a dry erase marker. Doesn't even seem to work. Okay, so I'll have to hit pause to see if I can get any sort of a line on there. Okay, hold on. Well, the dry erase marker was the method that was recommended on the what do they call it? Fluidmaster website. Okay, so what I did was I developed a different technique, which is the dipstick method. So I just marked that at the level, okay, where that is a full bowl, okay, because that was maximum flow. Now what I'm going to do is, since I know that it's filling too much, and this thing has got 0 through 8 settings, or actually 0 through 10, probably where it is right now, there's no restriction whatsoever, so that might be considered to be a 10. What I'll probably do is adjust it to 4. Then I'll see if it will fill up to that full level or whether it stops short. And then I'm just going to go from 4 to either go to 6, or, you know, I'll adjust it back and forth until I get the right number. Okay, so let me go ahead and try to manipulate this controller. Okay, well, when I tried adjusting this, I found it was really very, very difficult to engage it, so that squeezing that tube down is not easy. So I didn't go all the way to 4. I went to the number that looks like 6, or 7 actually, between 8. Even getting to 8, you have to push down very hard. It seems like it's a significant squeeze on the tube. So I think it may be a significant reduction. So what I did was, I think I went to 7, okay? Now I'm just going to flush it. We'll do 2 things. We'll see how it does relative to the fill line, and I'll also check how it does relative to filling up the bowl, okay? Now, another thing about filling something like this, oh, look at this. That bowl seems to be filled almost immediately. in my opinion. And let's take a look at the flow of the water. It's still coming out. Still quite a bit's coming out. And so I'm almost certain that I'm going to be able to reduce that, restrict that even further. Let's just see how it does relative to that shut-off flow. Okay, went slightly over the line. I'm going to give that another half a turn, and I'm going to restrict the flow more because I'm sure that this is definitely full. It's even more than it was before. And one reason why it is because it takes time. So the amount of water that went in was more than enough, so it overfilled, and it takes time for it to go down and to go through the neck, whatever you want to call that, in the toilet where it goes like that. Okay. So you don't want to make the measurement right away. You can wait 30 seconds or a minute. I know that it's more than enough. The fact that it was higher than this level, that tells you right away that there's more than enough. So I'm gonna make those corrections, and we'll try this a second time. Okay, I put it down to about 5, which is two more notches. It is hard to roll, and it has a tendency to get sideways, but I did get it to 5, no problem. I did turn this another 90 degrees. Yeah, it clicks. It's got like a 4 cross pattern, and it's close to the level. I just lowered it 1 click. And we'll just start flushing again. Now, one thing you might have noticed is, on this type of a toilet, you don't get the exact same volume of flush every time, which is to say, if you hold this down longer, you can empty practically the entire tank into the toilet bowl. And the last time I did it, I probably did more than a 1.28 flush, okay? So it's hard to say what is a calibrated flush. If you just push it down and immediately release it, that might be the 1.28 number, so I'll just try it again. It's a smaller number this time, probably. It's slow. You can still see it there. I don't know, it should be less. Okay. In terms of what's coming in the tank here, let's see how the level goes. There's the water line, coming up to the water line. Oh, looks, I would say, it's just barely over the water line. So I'll give that 1 more turn. And let's measure it. Okay. More than enough. Okay, which is to say it's overfilling the tank. So I'm going to have to try to turn that down again. Okay, so let me try those. Okay. I moved it down to 3, so let's see what happens. I also turned that 1 more notch. That should probably just come right to the water line. That's probably already up to the level. There's still plenty here. I might have to have this thing turned down to about as low as I can possibly get it. Okay, let's check that. Okay, I would say that's at the line or slightly above it still. It's certainly not short of the line. You can't still see the line exactly because it's under the water level. And the level in the bowl here, now it looks to be, it's right at that line, which is where I originally did it. Okay? Didn't seem over it like it did on the other ones, except maybe a little bit. It depends on if the stick is perfectly. So I'm going to try turning the wheel down a little bit more to see if there's any noticeable drop or if it's just the same. And I'll change the level by by 1 more quarter turn also. Okay, I actually got it down to 2. Okay, I gave that a 1 quarter turn. I think I'll use pause this time just to save you the refill time, and we'll just check to see where. Okay, it's very close to the water line right now. You might say it's right on the water line. Yeah, as I said, I moved it to 2. The water level is still not. Okay. too low. In other words, right below the black mark is where it would be when it was fully settled. That's how I set the black mark up. In all previous ones, it was more or less over the black mark. Okay, so it's at the equilibrium level. So I'm going to probably try turning it down one more just to see if it makes a difference. Okay, and I don't think I need to adjust the tank at all. Okay, I actually got it down to 1. Okay, and I didn't change this level. I'm just going to do one more shot. Okay, that one I might have held down a little bit longer. Let's see if we can see the water coming out. Actually, I don't see the water coming out, which is probably a good test. Which means even though it's not at 0, it might be completely turned off with no water going in the refill tube. Now, you might say, what should that mean if there's really no water going in the refill tube? Then how come the level is still at the equilibrium level? And that's a very good question. I don't really know the answer to that. You know, it's just part of the flush. Oh, it's probably because that was a larger than average flush. And that extra amount in the bowl probably refills the bowl. I might hit pause and just do a very quick flush like this. Smallest possible one. I don't see any water. The hose in this case seems to have been completely turned off even at 1 for whatever reason. You'd think that this would produce a low water level, okay? And it probably will for a very quick flush, and it does. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that back to 2. So there's at least something going in there. So for a quick flush, it'll bring it up. On a bigger flush, it might waste some. But anyway, that'll get things into the ballpark. So that's the end of this. That's the adjustment of this fill valve. Okay, thanks.